Yes, very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to the theIAShub. Today we are in the 13th session of the Basics of Geography session, जहाँ पर these are the basic fundamental classes which are meant for Geography optional. And the Geography optional is soon going to start in the theIAShub. You can go through the details and enroll. So today what we will be discussing in detail is about the Indian geography. So the major agenda of today's classroom is to give you an idea about Indian geography. And briefly I've told you how to approach the Indian geography in the previous classes, but लेकिन आज हम एक topic लेके पढ़ेंगे and that too physiography of India. And in this physiography of India, what we'll try to do is we'll try to understand the major physiographic regions in a lucid manner. When we go into the main classroom, I'll tell you the technicalities behind it. Right. So let's quickly begin. And firstly, can you define me what is physiography before we start with this? Can you define me what is physiography? Division of land on the basis of its characteristics. This is what people says. It is division of land on the basis of its characteristics. Yes, absolutely right. Has rightly defined that physiography is nothing but it is the division of land on the basis of its characteristics. But on what basis do you divide? On the basis of characteristics. इस characteristics में किस type की characteristics लिया जाएगा? ये सबसे बड़ा question है. ठीक है? If you look into these characteristics, the characteristics are divided into one. It is structure and relief. फिर इन दोनों में क्या फर्क है? How is a structure different from a relief? This is also you need to know, right? How is structure different from a relief? Now when you know the difference between structure and relief, then you'll understand the physiography और physiography में क्या approach करना चाहिए. So you will look into the broad physiographic divisions of India. If you look into the physiographic regions of India can be divided into mountain regions, they can be divided into plains, plateaus, coastal plain areas, Thar desert भी है और highlands भी है, small hills भी है. So if suppose there is a mountain has a very big relief, plain has almost no relief. ठीक है? Firstly, let us try to understand what exactly is the difference between structure and relief और उसके बाद हम क्या पढ़ने वाले हैं? Physiography. And physiography में we'll study each landform in the sense more or less the collection of landforms together, that is also called as a physiographic region. Right? Here, now firstly, what is structure? Structure consists of three parts. Structure, it has three parts. First is lithology. Lithology matlab what kind of rock? Is it a type of rocks किस type का है? That is your lithology. Is it igneous? Is it sedimentary? Or is it metamorphic? That is called as lithology. The second type of component which is used in the structure is, so here you got to see rocks. Rocks can be of sedimentary, metamorphic or igneous. ठीक है? Next, arrangement. You have to look into. Now, can you tell me what is arrangement? क्या होता है arrangement? Yes? Arrangement? Yes? Plain and plateau type? No. Is it a slope, faulting? To an extent. अगर technical words में बोला गया, it can be, arrangement can be a slope, it can be faulting. These are called as arrangements. And lastly, the sub characteristics that are also characterized as characteristics. ठीक है? Characteristics. In this characteristics, you have to understand, is it what type of fold it is. You have studied about the arrangement. Within the arrangement, you'll learn about characteristics. Matlab, is it synclinal, anticlinal, arrangement is multifolding, or is it the fan folding type? अलग-अलग foldings हो सकता है. So these are your characteristics. Now this is your structure. ठीक है? Now physiography consists of one. First one is structure. Now the second one you need to know is relief. क्या है relief? वर्ड तो सुना है ना आप लोग? Yes, height is relief, but लेकिन ये height कहाँ से measure किया जाएगा? Sea level से. तो this is a very common word which you'll know, but you need to know what is absolute relief and what is relative relief. Again, you need to know about this word. ठीक है? Absolute relief or relative relief. Absolute relief is nothing but, for suppose if you have a mountain, ठीक है? Imagine this is a mountain and this is your sea level, ठीक है? ये आपका sea level है. तो the relief of this mountain, it is nothing but the height from the sea level. This is called as absolute relief. But when you look into the relative relief is that there can be a landform which can be like this. Suppose so relative relief is from the valley to the top of the mountain. This is called as relative relief. ठीक है? मतलब this is the height which is measured. So in the relief you'll measure these kind of activities. Now your physiography takes into account the structure and the relief and the characteristics that are associated with a particular area. That is your physiography. And what are the physiography we are going to learn in the classes? That physiography is nothing but you will be including these topics. So broadly speaking, in the NCERT you will get to know that what is the physiography of India. The physiography of India consists of one, it consists of Himalayas. Okay, let me show you an image. That image will give you a better description about the India. ठीक है? Just a minute. Look here. Now look at this image and you tell me what are the what kind of physiographic regions you see in India. You name it. You name them. So Chahat here says that, sir, peninsular India. Now what is your peninsular India? See, peninsular India is nothing but this part does consist of peninsular India and including this Meghalaya also. So you also have Himalayas. ठीक है? Let's consider these are your Himalayas. Great Northern Plains. Let us consider this as your Great Northern Plains. ठीक है? Next, Indus Brahmaputra plain. ठीक है? It is also a physiographic region. This is Indo-Brahmaputra, Indo-Ganges plain. These are all considered as the Great Northern Plains. ठीक है? The Great Northern Plains extends from the desert region till the eastern part of the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar also. That is another physiographic region. In this physiographic region हम दो ही चीज पढ़ना है, एक तो structure पढ़ना है, एक relief पढ़ना है, और characteristics that are associated. In the structure, lithology you study the arrangement and you study the characteristics. And to this structure and relief in the geography optional, you will study the causes and the formation. ये बना कैसे है, right? Next, what kind of physiographic region do you see? Online you can also mention here. Yes? So Vipul says Thar Desert. Chalo, let's go to Thar Desert. This is your Thar Desert, right? Next, coastal lines too. You have coastal lines, that also very good. Matlab coastal plains. These are your coastal plains, right? Then you have hills. The mountains are also there on the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats name also. Here you have Western Ghats and here you have Eastern Ghats. Next, you also have the Deccan Plateau. ठीक है? The Central Highlands. You also have Karnataka Plateau and this part is Southern Hills, right? Deccan Plateau का ऊपर Central Highlands. This is Satpura and Vindhyas. ठीक है? Satpuras and Vindhyas are also physiographic regions. These are hills. They are the dividing ranges between the northern India and southern India. It is generally called. ठीक है? Now broadly speaking, these are your physiographic regions. Your physiographic regions will consist of Will we count islands? Yes, islands can also be considered. Islands bhi hum consider karte, we'll study them in a very different manner. Yes, islands are also our physiographic regions, right? So you count and tell me how many physiographic regions do we have? Yes, you have number 1, Himalayas, number 2, Northern Plains, number 3, the Great Indian Thar Desert, number 4, Western Ghats, and number 5, we have Eastern Ghats, number 6, you have Peninsular India, ठीक है? You have Peninsular India. This is your Peninsular India. Number 7, you have coastal plains, that is eastern coastal plains and western coastal plains. Let's consider this as number 8. And what else do you have? The islands. So this is how the broad classification of the Indian physiographic regions are. Now if you go into little more detail, you will understand that how are these physiographic regions formed. This is also your geography optional studies. Okay. In this physiographic region, today we'll try to understand at least 2 or 3 physiographic regions ka formation, right? So here you also have the Aravalli mountain ranges, ठीक है? यहाँ पे बीच में Vindhyan ranges है, यहाँ पे Satpura ranges है. So as a geography optional student, what we have to do is we should also study all these ranges, be it your Satpuras, Vindhyas, what is a block mountain, what is a horst mountain, how the Himalayas are formed. So today our agenda is to understand the formation of these Himalayas, and we'll also try to understand the formation of these deserts, right? Before we move ahead and try to understand all of this, how is exactly the continent of India or the landmass of India has formed? Did you ever think that अरे ये continent बना ही कैसे? How is India formed? It is separated from Africa, Vipul says. But lekin, my question here is, how exactly the continent formed? See, in the geography optional, we go to that depth and we study there. Firstly, we'll try to understand how the continent, how India as a land, ये जो land है ना, ये ज़मीन, धरती, how did this land form? See, we'll start from the very basics background से पढ़ लेते. In the previous time, I've taught you a topic called what is a craton, what is a platform, what is a shield, if you remember. No. So let's try to understand the terms. You need to start with the understandings of few terminology. देखो, आपको you need to have an understanding of the word craton, next platform, shield. So initially when the earth was formed, earth was a hot molten magma, right? Earth एक गोला था जिसमें it is a molten magma. Imagine this is your earth and this earth is hot. And upon this there are hundreds and lakhs of volcanoes which are present, right? Suppose I have a coffee mug, a mug of a coffee or a mug of a milk. If I keep it into the open air, what happens to it? The top layer of the coffee or the milk, what happens? There will be a thick layer, malai ban jata hai, right? Why is that thick layer of malai formed only on the top? Why not in the bottom of the mug? क्योंकि अंदर से गर्म है, ऊपर से ठंड है, right? ना? Similarly, similar kind of phenomena is also being experienced by the earth. The top layer of the earth, the cooling of the earth started from the top layer, not from the interior. The interior of the earth is still hot. You have learned the layers of the interior of the earth. In the layers of the interior of the earth, you have core, which is still hot. आज भी core का जो temperature है near about 6,000 degrees Celsius है, near to near 5 to 6,000 degrees Celsius. It has as much as the temperature as the sun has, right? The surface of the sun has. So this was hot, and this is hot molten magma which is present. It started to cool from the top. That means the top layer slowly started to cool, right? In this cooling process, you'll get to see that, imagine that there are volcanic activities. These volcanic activities, this is a platform, this is a platform, right? And together, a shield and a platform, you'll call it as craton, right? Now India is nothing but a collection of cratons. इस type की cratons India में, if you look into the map of India, if I draw the India map, our India is nothing but a collection of right. So we had four cratons. This is one craton. We have another craton here. We have another craton, and we have an other craton. Right? This is a craton, craton, craton. Now India, actual landmass of India is nothing but collection of four different cratons. That means our landmass of India was like this. Okay. Now let me show you this through a diagrammatic format. And just a minute. I hope online you are able to see us. Yes. Please comment it down. If you are able to see us, please let me know. Okay, don't worry. The lecture will be uploaded. If you are not able to see us, come back. So if you look into the entire India is nothing but a collection of cratons. How many cratons are there? There are four cratons, and there are names to this. One is Singhbhum craton, one is Dharwad craton, other one is Bundelkhand craton, and then you have Bastar craton. ठीक है, ये है बुंदेलखंड क्रेटॉन, ये है सिंघभूम क्रेटॉन, दिस इज बस्तर क्रेटॉन एंड धारवाड़ क्रेटॉन. मतलब actual land masses of India are these four pieces of land masses, right? Later, this is Meghalaya also part of the craton, and you might have heard about peninsular India. Your peninsular India consists of four different cratons. One is Bundelkhand, that is Aravalli regions, Dharwad region, Bastar, Singhbhum. यही रीजन है जो पेनिनसुलर इंडिया भी माना जाता है. ठीक है, तो लुक हियर, गुड, कैन यू see Sri Lanka here? Sri Lanka is also part of craton, right? That means the landmass which is connecting these two, it is also a craton, right? Now actual landmass of India is nothing but a collection of cratons. But when did this form? This formed around 1.6 to 1.8 billion years ago, right? Even before the formation of the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, or any landform which is there on India, पहला land masses ऐसे बना था. ऐसे, if you look onto the globe, overall Earth, if you look into, there are many different kinds of shields and platforms, right? Have you ever heard of Indian shield? Indian shield platform सुना होगा, पुराना platforms, पुराना rocks, धारवाड़ platforms, खड़प्पा platforms, ये शब्द NCERT में भी लिखा हुआ. Now that is nothing but these cratons and shields. Like that, across the globe, you'll find shields. Shield is nothing but Indian shield, right? You go to Canada, what is this? Canadian shield. Brazil, Brazilian shield. Like that, you'll find cratons and shields. And whichever part of the craton is exposed, that is nothing but your shield. And shield, craton, cratonic area, they are the strongest land masses that are present there. But over a period, over millions of years, what happens is that because of the exogenetic activities, you might find that, you might see that some certain amount of exogenetic activities will start to take place on this. Maybe there is a river that has originated somewhere and it is passing through this. The river will get sediments. And imagine on this layer, you might sometimes get to see depositions of sediments, and then this will get deposited. Sometimes the shield and craton can get filled out. ठीक है, ये एक land mass बन जाता है. So imagine like this, there are cratons and shields, they are filling up the material. Exogenetic processes भी है, endogenetic processes भी है. ये सारे मिलाकर you got to see these kind of activities, right? यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Now let's go to the formations of India. India is nothing but collection of cratons and shields, and like this we have four different cratons, and collection of this cratons is your Indian landmass. And on these cratonic area you will not find earthquakes. Even if they are there, they're not much strong. ठीक है, only peninsular block is strong. On that craton और भी depositions हो सकता है, ये सब sedimentation इसके ऊपर हो सकता है, right? Clear? Now let's go to the first landform, because we'll be using the same terms craton shield आगे ताकि आपको confuse ना होना है. So our agenda for today is to understand the formations of Himalayas, right? Now in the Himalayan formation, when did it form? The Himalayan formation is a very young and naive hills जो अभी नन्हे मुन्ने बच्चे हैं, they have just formed few years before, few millions of years before. Now when did they form? 1.6 to 1.8 billion years before. ठीक है, उसके बाद जो पहले ऐसे माउंटेन्स है जो इंडिया के ऊपर बना था, that is your Eastern Ghats and Aravallis, Satpuras. Satpuras and Aravallis are considered to be the oldest mountain ranges. When did they form? They formed age-old time period. Age-old time period, it is 1.6 billion years, 1.1 billion years ago. What is the age of Himalayas? The age of Himalayas is hardly 40-50 million years, right? So age-wise अगर categorize किया गया, Satpuras, Aravallis, then Eastern Ghats, then Western Ghats, then you have Himalayas that are formed, right? So today our agenda is to study the formations of Himalayas, right? Now there is a question online that asks, sir, when did Eastern Ghats form? देखो, Eastern Ghats तब बना था जब India was together in the form of a bigger landmass called Rodinia. Are you aware of Rodinia? आपने वेगनर का थियरी पढ़ा है, ठीक है? वेगनर का थियरी ये कहता है continents are drifting, right? Now Wegener says that there is Gondwana land and there is Angara land, or else Laurasia. India is part of Gondwana land. I hope this is all you guys know. So let me show you what exactly the Wegener says. Once you understand this Wegener, we'll move little further. So earlier there used to be a landmass called Pangaea, and this Pangaea is like this. Our India is here, right? Our India was along with Madagascar. On the other side you have Antarctica, you have Australia. But when was this time period? Can anyone tell me how old this landmass is? Wegener talks about the continental drift theory. That continental drift theory is hardly, he talks from 250 million years. लेकिन हमारा सतपुरा कितना पुराना है? 1.1 billion years. Billion मतलब समझते हो ना? 1000 million is equal to 1 billion. So this Pangaea, this big landmass is only 250 million years old. इससे पहले एक और बड़ा landmass था, उसका नाम है Rodinia. ठीक है, ये Rodinia, if you look into, our India's position was somewhere not in the same way that you see in the Wegener time period. See, this is your Rodinia supercontinent and these are your cratons. ठीक है, ये color, whatever the color that you are seeing, this is a craton. ठीक है, like that, these are all cratons and these are the belts. Belts in the sense the formation of the Eastern Ghats took place 1.1 billion years ago. ठीक है, उसके बाद बना था Western Ghats. ठीक है, पहले Eastern Ghats से भी पहले you got to see Aravallis formation. All this I'll explain in the further classes, main classroom, but this is only just an idea that you need to get, right? Now come back, you got to see the movement of India from southern part of India to the northern part of India, and this is through the form of the Gondwana and Angara land. ये story तो आपको पता है ना? Come here. See, since 250 million years later, उसके बाद we got to know that the journey of India was from somewhere in the southern hemisphere, and then slowly the India started to move towards the Eurasian plate, and then it started to collide. You got to see this Himalayas. But in this due process, India underwent many changes. Many changes means the cratons that are formed, the plateaus that are formed a little later, it has undergone so much of changes. उस cratons के ऊपर कुछ और land masses भी आ गया. देखो, here, can you see this dark spot? Just a minute. Red spots and red spots, what are they? They are volcanoes, no doubt, but they have a technical term called hotspots. Now what is a hotspot? A hotspot is nothing but which has deep connections into the interior of the earth, where the mantle or the mantle material is directly coming onto the surface of the earth, right? In this due process, imagine if India is passing through this landform and there is volcanic pouring that is happening. No, if there is, India is moving in this direction, and then beneath there is a hotspot that is there. Okay, imagine there is a hotspot that punctured my hand, that is India, and it started to pour out, right? That means here, as it is moving, India was under the hotspots position, it punctured Indian land masses, and then that volcano came out to be formed as Deccan Plateau. ठीक है, Deccan Plateau यहाँ बना था. In technicality we will study in detail in the main classroom. Deccan is also called as Deccan Traps. सुना है कभी? Deccan Traps, Deccan basalt lava, Deccan Traps. So our Deccan Traps or Deccan Plateau, that is part of the Hyderabad region, Maharashtra Plateau, or also Rajmahal Hills सुना होगा आपने. You can also open your atlas. Rajmahal Hills are present somewhere in the eastern side, Bengal की around. ये mountains भी इसी time बना था. Himalayas कब बना? बाद में, when India went and struck to this plate, right? Now when did Western Ghats form? Western Ghats, they formed in batches. अचानक से एक बार upliftment नहीं हुआ था उनका, ठीक है? Western Ghats are nothing but mountains which you see on the western side of India, right? So ये जो Western Ghats है, they have actually formed at the time when India and Madagascar, they got separated from each other. Western Ghats बना यहाँ पर. Then India started to move, it came under a hotspot. This hotspot episodes 3 time हुआ था. First episode was little slow, second episode ज़्यादा तेज था, third episode भी और भी तेज था, ठीक है? उसके कारण volcanic material, it came out, and they start to fill up the land masses which are there in the Hyderabad region for hundreds of kilometers. Even it went into, this volcano even went into the Gujarat, और गुजरात में we got to see. But ये सब हमें कैसे पता? By studying the soil, by studying the rocks, by studying the age of the rocks, right? Come back. So that means here you got to see the Deccan Traps, that is Hyderabad region. After that you got to see the formation of Himalayas when India and the Eurasian plates start to collide with each other. अगर chronology पूछा गया, first is cratons. There are 4 different cratons. On these cratons there are changes that landforms went into. ये cratons एक दूसरे के साथ भी टक्कर हो सकता है. In that formation you got to see the mountain ranges also. Satpuras, rift valleys बना था उनके बीच में. Satpura mountains, Aravalli mountains are the oldest mountains. Later Rodinia time period पे you got to see Eastern Ghats. Eastern Ghats के बाद, when India started to move its journey 250 million years later or 250 million years ago, then you got to see the Western Ghats. And then while it is traveling, it came under a hotspot, and that hotspot led to the formations of Deccan Traps. And after the Deccan Traps are formed, India's journey was still, the movement of the India was 20 meters per second, sorry, 20 centimeters per year. The movement of Indian plate was 20 centimeters per year, and in this due process, the movement of India has also undergone the formations of deserts. ठीक है, desert भी बना था, उसके बाद Himalayas भी बना, ठीक है? तो we will try to understand firstly the formation of deserts. आपको सबको ये पता है what is a ridge? Oceanic ridge क्या है? हमने पढ़ा था previous class में. If you don't know, please go and watch them. You also know about the ridges, oceanic ridges, you know, that is middle oceanic ridge. And for our understanding, let me show you. If India was here at that point of time, the ridges were not there. Now let me show you a ridge, only then you will get a good understanding about these ridges, else you might find it little difficulty. एक मिनट, मुझे just give me a minute. Just a minute. Yes, look here. What are these? Oceanic ridges. Everyone knows what are oceanic ridges. Imagine if India was somewhere here, right? Do you find this oceanic ridge? नहीं होता था उस टाइम पे. देखो ये ridges ना बाद में बना, ठीक है. अब ये मान के चलो हम 250 साल पुराना, लेट्स गो बैक दिस इंडिया, लेट अस पुट आवर इंडिया समवेयर हियर, ठीक है. ये मान के चलो वी हैव पुट आवर इंडिया, इट इज समवेयर हियर, ठीक है, राइट. ये मान के चलते ये इंडिया है और यहाँ पे ऑस्ट्रेलिया है और यहाँ पे अंटार्कटिका है. उस टाइम पे ये सब क्या था? एक सी था ना. जस्ट नाउ आई हैव शोन यू, राइट. India's journey slowly started to move towards in this process. In this due process, imagine how did the Thar Desert form? See, Thar Desert phenomena is very, very easy to understand. When you read the books, it is so complicated, so complicated that Thar Desert को marine regression, marine transgression कुछ ना कुछ लिखा है. So I'll try to give this explanation in a lucid manner, and all the technicalities we'll study in the further classes. Now, firstly, let us try to understand the formations of the Thar Desert which are present here. See, this entire Indian landmass, imagine that it's like this. Suppose ये है India, and then you have oceans around, right? Clear? Now to show you this in a different perspective, first suppose, imagine this is an ocean, right? If I have this as an ocean, just a minute. Okay, if I have this as an ocean and then I put some stones into this, what happens? Level of water rises, ठीक है. वैसे ही ये मान के चलो ये इंडिया के साथ ना ये सब ओशन है, ठीक है. इस ओशन में there has been some new landforms that are formed. What happens to the ocean? क्या होगा? वाटर ऊपर आएगा. मतलब ये जो पानी है, all this water they start to enter or inundate into India. कुछ वेस्टर्न एरियाज में भी है, कुछ ये पानी है ना मालदा गैप के थ्रू दे इवन एंटर्ड इनटू उत्तर प्रदेश आल्सो, सम पार्ट्स ऑफ द असम रीजन एंड राजस्थान रीजन. पानी it came back, right? When water entered into this region, the oceanic water stayed for millions of years on these land masses. Today, after some years again, मैं ये मान के चलो इंडिया का प्लेट साइज काफी बड़ा है. अभी इंडियन लैंड मास का साइज में डिक्रीज कर दूं, क्या होगा फिर? ओशन sea will start to recede back, ठीक है. So once this India went, and it's like this, when once India went, if this is your Eurasia, this is your Europe, ठीक है. When India went and struck with, imagine that this part of India, it went and struck with Eurasia, and the size of India got shrinked. Why it got shrinked? क्योंकि the plate, this is a continent and this is a continent. When continent and continent collide, what happens? Mountains will take place. What happened to the surface area of the continent? Fold हो गया, तो ये पानी ना दोबारा वापस चले गया, ठीक है. All this water, what happened? After some time, the water receded back. When the water receded back, for millions of years, this water was on the continent, and that area turned out to be deserts. क्योंकि उसके अंदर इतना salt है, there are no crops that can be grown, and this principle or this process has led to the formations of desert. And we'll study in a very detailed manner, step by step, with keywords and all in the main classroom. ये आपको broad understanding के लिए है. तो ऐसे बना आपका deserts. पहले हाँ, इस साइड में भी डेजर्ट था. एंड ऑल्सो इफ यू लुक इनटू इंडिया, ऑयल कहां पे मिलता है? कोस्टल एरियाज, ठीक है, कोस्टल एरियाज में कहाँ पे मिलता है ऑयल? कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ पे। मैंने बताया था कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ पे दुनिया का 80% का ऑयल है। कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ के ऊपर ऑयल क्यों है? क्योंकि कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ है ना, एक टाइम पे लैंड था, एंड ऑन दैट लैंड देयर वाज फॉरेस्ट, एंड दैट फॉरेस्ट दे गॉट सबमर्ज्ड, and for millions of years that water is there, and they turned out to be fossil fuels. When you dig, you'll get water there, you'll get oil there. Similarly, you see here, जहां जहां डेजर्ट एरिया था, जहां जहां ये मेराइन ट्रांसग्रेशन हुआ था, दैट इज मेराइन वाटर केम ऑन टू द कॉन्टिनेंटल लैंड मास, that is the place where today you will find oil. If you want oil on the continent, 100% it should be in an area जहां पर that land should have been under the sea. ठीक है, गो टू असम। असम में डिगबॉय करके एक जगह है, वहां पे तेल मिलता है, वो डिगबॉय भी, दिस असम रीजन वाज आल्सो अंडर वाटर। केजी बेसिन, गोदावरी केजी बेसिन, यू गो हियर, लेट मी शो यू द इमेज, where exactly do you find your oil? Oil formation and founds, all this, they are found only in few areas, they are not found in everywhere. Just a minute. राजस्थान डेजर्ट है ना, यहाँ पे राजस्थान में मिलता है ना, ऑयल मिलता है। राजस्थान is the second leading state in India where they produce oil. You look, where do you find oil in India? One, Bombay, high. Next go to Gujarat, अंबानी कहाँ पर है? जामनगर. Then go to Rajasthan. राजस्थान में भी तेल मिलता है. You search for the oil fields in India. These are offshore, these are onshore. So you will get oil here, you will get oil on the Assam area, some Bangladesh also. Then go to Godavari KG basin, यहाँ पे भी तेल है, थोड़ा बहुत यहाँ तेल है. ये ऐसी regions था जहाँ पर पहले this entire region was under the ocean. And some parts of the Uttar Pradesh, here also you'll find oil. You know why? Because water even entered into Uttar Pradesh region. How did it enter? Rivers nahi. Malda Gap. You see the Malda Gap. Can you see this image? So on this image it will be very easy to understand. See, this is called as Malda Gap. ठीक है? Malda Gap मतलब बांग्लादेश. ठीक है? ये Malda Gap ना एक टाइम पे it was a straight part. There was a gap when India went and struck with the Eurasian plate. यहाँ पे folding हुआ था. ठीक है? All this we'll learn in little more detail. Layman terms में समझ लो बस. ठीक है? ये है Malda Gap. Through this, and here also there was a gap. The marine water entered into these areas also, right? And marine water, ये पूरा region काफी time, near about 1,000,000 years, and this lakhs of years water was there on these areas. यहाँ पे KG basin में भी, यहाँ eastern part, Assam, Digboy. So all these areas, marine transgression and marine regression हुआ था. Means water came in, water went back. Why did the water went back? The water went back because when India went and struck with the Eurasian plate, the size of the plate got shortened. Why it got shortened? ये है मेरा size of the hand. ठीक है? Imagine this is the plate. When this plate collides with another plate, they are rising their height. Now what happened to my size of the hand? अभी थोड़ा shorten हो गया ना? Earlier this was the length of my hand from here to here, but like when these two plates collided, mountains formed. So look at the length of this hand, it got reduced. Similarly, the length of the Indian plate got reduced in this due process. You got to see this with the same phenomena, you got to see this formation of deserts. ठीक है? And this is called as marine transgression and marine regression. इसमें marine transgression and regression ये कुछ time period में हुआ. Right? This is how your deserts. Now coming to the formations of your Himalayas. Himalayas सबसे latest formation है. Very young and new formation. That's why there are more evidences, more scientists study them. बाकी formations and all, it is little difficult to understand क्योंकि evidences are mismatching. We do not have 100% concrete data about every landform that you see. More or less, the scientific communities agrees to each other. Right? But on Himalayas, we have 100% concreted data. Right? Now let's try to understand the formation of Himalayas. Look, this is your Eurasian plate. and this is your Indian plate, right? India started its journey, and in this due process, the first contact, of India, you will get to see that. Just a minute. ठीक है. The first contact of India, it's like this. India went and struck here, right? And here there was bending that took place. The bending is that there were syntaxial bends, right? After that, slowly the Indian plate started to move in this direction. Okay? The Indian plate, due to the slam setting phenomena, kaha jata hai, theek hai? Firstly, the Indian plate went and struck on the left side. This is where is the syntaxial bend formations. Again, slowly it started to strike onto the eastern sides, right? So, yahan se lekar yahan tak, you will get to see the formation of Himalayas in a simple and lucid understanding way. But whichever point India went and struck here, a series of mountain chains or cracks you will get to see, right? A series of mountain chains you will get to see. Today, this point is called as Pamir Knot, जहाँ पर सारे mountains they'll come and join. ठीक है? आपने सुना है Hindu Kush? Did you heard of Suleiman Kirtar ranges, the Himalayas? ये सारे mountain chains they meet at Pamir Knot, right? And more specifically, if you look into, ये syntactial bends भी है, right? And later India, with a phenomena of slam setting मतलब अगर lucid way में मैं बताऊं, दरवाजा, when you are too angry, what do? Sometimes you bang your door, right? What does that? Sometimes the door will also come back and hit you hard, right? Similarly, when this plate went and struck here, the other side of the plate went and struck there. It is because of the slam setting phenomena. The slam setting phenomena has created again the Indian plate to adjust itself, and the upheaval of Himalayas took place in 3 different time periods. One at 60 million years, and then 30, and then 10 to 15 million years. Like that, we got to see the formation of 3 different chains. लेकिन यहाँ पर, if I show you this small infographic image of how did the Himalayas form, देखो यहाँ पर क्या है? India is moving. ये तो oceanic plate है, ठीक है? This is your ocean, this is your continent. We have studied about if there is a continental plate and an oceanic plate, which one will sink? If an oceanic plate and a continental plate is there, which plate will sink if they collide with each other? Why continent, yaar? Oceanic plate will sink. Yes, oceanic plate is heavier, so oceanic plate will sink. देखो ये ocean है. Now let me try to draw this. ठीक है? If I have to show this in a different format, it's like this. देखो ये इंडिया है, ये ओशन है, तो ये मान के चलो this oceanic plate, while it is going down, it sank below, right? जो Tethys Sea है, Tethys Sea, that Tethys Sea is completely gone. Why? It sank, it went into the middle oceanic reaches, sorry, it went into the trenches and then got sank. Slowly, the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate got collided with each other, and this has led to the upheaval of mountains of Himalayas. ठीक है? बट लेकिन वॉल्केनोस भी होना चाहिए ना. देखो मैंने कहा था, where do you find volcanoes? You'll find volcanoes when oceanic plate and continental plate collide with each other. In this due process, ये है oceanic plate. It is going and sinking. While sinking, it gets melted, and there you'll get to see volcanoes. But लेकिन आज volcanoes क्यों नहीं है हिमालयास में? Did you ever hear of volcanic activity in Himalayas? There are no volcanic activity in Himalayas. Why? Yes, because the plate is no longer active here. मतलब ये जो मेल्टिंग हो रहा है ना, देखो what happened to the oceanic plate, it is moving down towards the core, ये sink हो रहा है, and then there is no volcanic activities. And lastly, if you look into, they are nothing but the formations of Tibet, Himalaya and the peninsular part of India. This is how you got to see. But एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू के लिए ये समझने के लिए ठीक है, लेकिन ये एग्जाम में कैसे ड्रॉ करें, it's like this. Let's try to understand how to represent this in the examination. Imagine that this is your oceanic plate, ठीक है, and it is sinking, and this is your continental plate, ठीक है. On the continental plate you got to see some this volcanic activity, and this is nothing but volcanic activity. And you also know that there are some sediments over this ओशन के ऊपर. क्या क्या लैंडफॉर्म्स देखने के लिए मिलता है हमें? सी, माउंट्स, गुयान्स, एबिसल प्लेन्स, कॉन्टिनेंटल शेल्फ, कॉन्टिनेंटल स्लोप, ये सब हमने पढ़ा है ना. मे बी देर इज ए सी प्लेन, प्लेन एरिया हो सकता है, एक माउंटेन भी हो सकता है, एक गुयांट भी हो सकता है, कुछ भी, ऑल काइंड ऑफ लैंडफॉर्म्स विल बी देयर. Now these landforms, while they are moving aside, what happens is that they'll be forming accretionary wedges. ठीक है, accretionary wedges. Yes, sediments कहाँ पे जा रहा है? यहाँ, if this is going there, don't you think that all these sediments will be filled here? ये जो sediments है, they will slowly start to rise up, right? And this rising up sediments of oceans, oceanic sediments जो है ना, ये है trans Himalayas. And this is nothing but Tethyan Himalayas, and more specifically it is your Zanskar. ठीक है, Trans Himalayas, Tethyan Himalayas, accretionary wedges. एक्रीशनरी वेजेस मतलब सी का मिट्टी या सी के सेडिमेंट्स सब इकट्ठा एक जगह अगर इकट्ठा हो रहा है, दैट इज योर एक्रीशनरी वेजेस. ठीक है, दीज आर योर एक्रीशनरी वेजेस. लाइक दैट यू गॉट टू सी द राइज ऑफ माउंटेन्स हियर ऑल्सो. ठीक है, स्लोली ये जो कॉन्टिनेंट है ये भी फोल्ड हो गया ना, राइट? नाउ यू गॉट टू सी सम volcanic arcs little later when this entire plate of ocean got struck. That means you get to see here, where is India? India is somewhere here. ये क्या था? Tethys Sea थे. And then see, if this is your continental plate of India, and then this is your Eurasia, continental plate of India, बीच में already you got to see some volcanic activity, and then these sediments यहाँ पे इकट्ठा हो गया when two plates came up, right? And some part of the Indian plate is actually beneath, it is beneath the continent, the Tibetan plate. So ये क्या हुआ? The height of the, ये सब Indian plate है, ठीक है, ये this is your Indian plate. Let me draw it like this. This is your Indian plate, right? And ये भी fold होगा ना दोनों का. If I am pushing in, they will start to rise like this. In this due process, this is your trans Himalayas. Trans Himalayas मतलब क्या? देखो ये जो mountains है, it is, you will find chain of mountains. This is your Karakoram, ये है लद्दाख, this is your Zanskar. सी सेडिमेंट से बना या लैंड मास से बना? वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन. विपुल ने ये पूछा, सर हिमालयास जो है सी सेडिमेंट से बना या लैंड मास से बना? देखो हिमालयास दोनों से बना. जो सी सेडिमेंट से बना है ना, वो जानस्कर, लद्दाख एंड काराकोरम. जो लैंड मास, दैट इज लैंड के सेडिमेंट से जो बना है ना, दे आर फॉर्म्ड बिकॉज ऑफ, इफ आई स्टार्ट टू पुश बोथ ऑफ देम टुगेदर, और if both the plates are colliding with each other, what happens? The plate will crumble, or else it will form synclines and antisynclines. It is like this. Suppose this is a plate, and I try to push this plate from both the sides. You'll get to see this is how the plate behaves, right? Right? ये plate compress हो गया, size छोटा होगा, तो size of the plate got shortened. So India का plate पहले बड़ा था, तो as it pushed, it got shortened. और बाजू में जो sea था, what happens? The water will again, it gets more space, the water will recede, right? This is how. Now in this due process, if I start to push this plate in this direction and in this direction, that is compressional directions, slowly you will get to see the folding of the mountains. You got to see. Okay? It is folding of the mountains. Now what is this mountain? Greater Himalayas. What is this? Lesser Himalayas. Shivaliks bana? Shivaliks abhi tak nahi bana. Shivaliks are formed less, just few 5 million years, 10 million years. Shivaliks कैसे बना? देखो, Shivaliks ऐसा बना due to the four deeps. Now what is four deep? Imagine that if I have a plate, ठीक है? This is a plate, lithospheric plate. On this lithospheric plate, I have put more weight. Imagine I have put too much of weight here. What happens to this plate? It will make a curve. What is that curve? It is this curve. So simply it will curve itself, and this curve is called as, yes, very good. It will curve itself, and these are called as four deeps. राइट? फोर डीप में क्या होगा? सेडिमेंट्स, माउंटेन का सेडिमेंट्स होगा, उसके बाद अब ये माउंटेन का सेडिमेंट्स बन गया, ठीक है? ऑल दिस आर योर माउंटेन सेडिमेंट्स. नाउ व्हाट आई विल डू? आई विल अगेन पुश देम, आई विल अगेन कंप्रेस दिस प्लेट. सो यहाँ पर दिस विल ऑल्सो राइज इटसेल्फ, राइट? एंड द अदर प्लेट्स हाइट विल इंक्रीज. इनका हाइट बढ़ेगा, and here you'll get to see. Now what is this? Shivaliks. Shivaliks sediments. These are Shivalik sedimentary formations in the four deeps, right? You go to Haridwar, you go to Rishikesh, the mountains that you see there next to them, Shivaliks. यहाँ कसौली जाओ, ये मिट्टी से बना हुआ. These are very weak Himalayas. They are withholding themselves just because of one reason. पेड़ पौधे है इनके ऊपर. जिस दिन the elements of trees, जो भी whatever the deforestation अगर यहाँ पे करो, this mountains is no longer going to stay there. They'll simply make a big landslide. And in this due process, you got to see that यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? यहाँ पे you also got to see Shivaliks. जब शिवालिक्स बना था, दोबारा फोर डीप बना, ठीक है? यहाँ पे दोबारा फोर डीप बनता है. इट्स लाइक दिस. राइट? नाउ यू विल सी अदर फोर डीप. सी, इंडिया इज वेरी बिग, राइट? यहाँ पे ये जो फोर डीप है ना, काफी बड़ा फोर डीप है. इतना बड़ा फोर डीप है, you will be surprised to know that this four deep is near about, it is near about very deep four deep bana, and that deep four deep has led to the formations of Great Indian Plains. क्योंकि ये फोर डीप बना है ना, ये फोर डीप का जितने भी रिवर्स है, they came and deposited the sediments, ठीक है? And this river is actually, ये जो रिवर्स है ना, ये पहले ही था टिबेट के ऊपर, ठीक है? इट्स लाइक दिस. इमेजिन दैट, लेट मी प्ले दिस. द रिवर कॉल्ड इंडस, द रिवर कॉल्ड जेल, वॉट एवर द इंडस वैली ट्रीटी, इंडस वैली रिवर्स जो है ना, ऑलरेडी देर इज अ रिवर दैट वॉज फ्लोटिंग हियर, ठीक है? एंड देन व्हेन इंडिया केम एंड स्ट्रक in this due process, the river started to cut whatever it came in its way, right? So यहाँ पे already the rivers are moving in this direction. It's like this. The rivers are draining. There are 2 or 3 rivers which are already draining. There is also a river that is draining into this. So when they started to collide with each other, the rivers are still there. Okay? But even before the formation of the Himalayas, as the Himalayas started to rise, the river started to cut anything that is coming in its way. Right? In this due process, those rivers that are cutting across the Himalayas, or else they make their path through the Himalayas, they are called as antecedent rivers. Okay? Those rivers are called as antecedent rivers. These antecedent rivers are like this. Suppose ये जो rivers है ना, they do not go above the mountain and come. They simply cut anything that in their pathway and they come and deposit their materials here. Got it? It's like that. So these kind of rivers are called as antecedent rivers. Right? Now why are they called antecedent? Because they are flowing against their slope. ठीक है? River तो ऐसे नहीं जा रहा है, but they are going against their slope and they are going in. Look at the slope here. Slope is like this, but river is going against the slope. That's why they are called as antecedent. Indus, Jhelum, Chenab or Sutlej, even to an extent Ganga river also, they are all flowing in the antecedent way. Right? So this is how you get to see the formations of Himalayas. And imagine this is your greater Himalayas. ठीक है? ये greater Himalayas की north में maybe ठीक है, let's consider this has greater Himalayas. ठीक है? ये आपका greater Himalayas है. ये है आपका lesser Himalayas. This is your Shivaliks. And then on the other side you got to see what are these trans Himalayas, that is Zanskar. Then you have Karakoram, sorry, this is Ladakh range, and then you have Karakoram. The Karakoram irregular formations. This is Karakoram, Ladakh, Zanskar, Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, and Shivaliks. So, ये देखो, this part of the Himalayas, whatever you see, Karakoram, Ladakh, and Zanskar, they are not on Indian plate. They are present on Chinese or Eurasian plate. Rest of these land masses are present on Indian plate. And some part of the Indian plate is actually underneath them. ठीक है? It's like this. Indian plate थोड़ा बहुत इनकी नीचे है. And this extent, if you look into, this Indian plate is still here. It's like this. Got? So इसीलिए Tibet का भी height, Tibet is here. If you look, Tibet का plateau जो है ना, it's like this. This is Tibetan plateau. अपना जो Indian plate है, it is extending under this plate until here. So this color, whatever I'm drawing, this is your Indian plate. Got it? So Tibet, Karakoram, Ladakh, Zanskar, Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalayas, Shivaliks, and then comes Great Plains of India. Right? So broadly, this is how the formation of Himalayas took place. इसमें कुछ time periods है, कब हुआ, कहाँ हुआ, we'll learn in the further classes. समझ में आया? Broadly you got an idea, right? That's it. Now keywords you have to take and write the answers. Yes. Chinese की वो कल्चरल ज्योग्राफी में पढ़ेंगे. तो कराकोरम, लद्दाख, जांस्कर जो है ना, मोस्टली टिबेटन, दे आर नॉट चाइनीज रेस, दे आर टिबेटो मंगोलॉइड्स. देखो अगर इंडिया में देखते हो, मंगोलॉइड्स, द मंगोलियन रेस इज करंटली प्रेजेंट इन 2 एरियाज. वन, if this is your India, ठीक है, one you will get to see them here, and the other one you'll see in the northeast. Only these 2 areas you will find the Tibeto-Mongoloid race. Now why do you find them there? And mostly the religion that they practice is which religion? They follow Buddhism. why is this Buddhism only confined to that area? लेकिन Buddhism तो पैदा हुआ, it has started in the Bihar, right? Buddha was born in Bihar. So why is this religion not muchly practiced in the state of Bihar? Rather, it is now dominant to these areas. ये भी आपका cultural geography है. क्यों? मंगोलॉइड रेस अगर देखते हो यहीं पर है. Why? क्योंकि Buddhism is more or less wiped away from India in between after the advent of the revival of the other religions. One is Islamic and other one is Hinduism also. So other religions felt little threatened in the words of the books. ठीक है? Now all these people, they ran away to Tibet, and little later those people who ran away to Tibet, their climates are very conducive in these areas, so they came back and they settled in this belt. That's why you find more Tibetan population living in the northeastern region and in the Ladakhi region, and some parts of the Tibetan population is seen in Dharamshala. That is because of the Dalai Lama is currently residing there, Namgyal monastery. Similarly, when Dalai Lama came back, along with Dalai Lama, the Buddhism also came back to India. I mean, dominance of religion, if you look into here and here, that is why. ठीक है? Central India people, shekal change ऐसा नहीं है. Most of the people, those who are practicing, they went there. After that, people who practiced that religion, they came along with the Dalai Lama and other practices. So Buddhism in India again revived only after 1950s. ठीक है? जब Dalai Lama came to India, only then the Buddhism revived in these areas. Shekal change नहीं हुआ. They are races. Races in the sense that these races, they were present since the beginning. काफी time पुराना से. तो races, cultural geography में you will understand that Australoids, Mongoloids, Proto-Australoids, Negrotoids जो है, ये लोग, मतलब this population, Dravidia, आप लोग जो सोचते हो, Aryans, who are they? You'll also learn about them in the cultural geography. ठीक है? Races. Ramchandra Guha has given this races, that also you will study. So we'll end the class here, and we'll continue with the further topics of the physiography in the next class. Right? Just a minute.